Hello, welcome back. Well, I really haven't had any sourcing or sales videos in the past, what, 3, 4 days. Sourcing any of the ones that I've gone to since the last video. Each stop only resulted in 2 or 3 things, so I'm not going to make a sourcing video, 2 or 3 things. What I did find at the Goodwill up here around the corner is a signed Gloria Estefan Greatest Hits CD. That's already listed. In between all the little things that I got from the different stores, I almost never list different categories that are less than 20, 25 of that category. But I made 21 listings yesterday that were CDs and DVDs because the amount of stuff I had to get something up. It was just few and far between in all the sales I've had. One day was like $80. Another was 140, another was like 160, so it never hit 200. Today, which would be sales from basically yesterday to today, is 233. And again, I'll put a screenshot up of the oldest sale, kind of show that that's what it was. This is all from yesterday to today. And it's 9 o'clock, a little bit after 9. In a couple other snippets here, snippets. One, so I posted a video a couple days ago kind of explaining a couple misconceptions, and there, when I got up, there were a handful of comments on it stating that it was confusing to understand, and then one did state that the policy does not state, and I never use the word policy. I never use the word policy. I never said this is what the policy is. I never used that at all. However, since a lot of people would probably just click the video and maybe bounce around a little bit and listen to something and not pick up on that I never said the word policy out of a 30-minute video. And then I listened to the video again, and I deemed their statement to be, and I concur, hence my my post, and I concur that I won't necessarily go with convoluted. It was a little confusing on what I was getting at. So the very, very, very consensus is the eBay policy states you have to use a shipping service that the buyer chooses, regardless if it's free shipping or they pay for shipping. However, there is no ding. Your account cannot be dinged or demerited nor any of the like if you use a different shipping service. What you need to do is have a tracking number, and if you use a shipping service that is slower than the typical, so if somebody picks priority mail, because that's the options that you have, and if you send it out first class, just using this as an example, so if somebody were to pick Ground Advantage for a book, and I send it out media mail, yes, that's against the policy. However, I'm not going to get dinged for choosing media mail as long as the item gets to the buyer no later than 1 day after the estimated date. You still might get a ding for being 1 day after, but of all the different items that I have, and for books, now all of my media is all pretty much, the policy is listed as media. My shipping policy is listed as media. However, everything is Ground Advantage. That book got shipped out media mail with insurance. It was like 6, 7 and some change. It was like $100 book. It was one of the ones that's in the video. It might even be the one that I have to where it was cheaper for me to pick media with insurance. I don't remember how many videos ago, but it got to them in the time frame. So if you ship out every single day, or if you have media that goes out on a Saturday. And if you're near the middle of the country, this is probably something you do not need to worry about. I am 1/3 of the width of the United States inbound from the Atlantic. Unless it's going to Hawaii, even Alaska, or even some of the islands, Guam, Puerto Rico, I can still send it out media mail. It's still going to get there. And even if it doesn't get there and I get a ding, it's going to take a bunch of dings to lower my seller status. That is the primary one that I wanted to cover. That was where a lot of the confusion was. So I just took that video down on that end. And another important thing for new or experienced resellers to really keep in mind. So I got a negative feedback that eBay, well, actually the past couple ones, eBay refuses to remove. One, not the most recent, but the one before that is someone ordered an Amy Winehouse DVD CD, which is in a video. In the messages, the person states that they didn't get what they ordered, but they tell me exactly what they got, what they ordered from me. They said that it didn't come with the DVD, and then another message after we're messaging back and forth states that he watched the DVD and it's not or he watched the video and it's not the one that he wanted, not the one that he was expecting. It's all kinds of stories, all up and down, up and down. And he leaves me a negative feedback. And in that negative feedback, doesn't state anything about the item I sold him. Doesn't state anything about the transaction. That feedback states that he ordered the wrong item and he wants to know on how to return it. That is the negative feedback I got. So he doesn't mention the item. Well, that's a feedback. You can look at it. You can look at that feedback. And if you're familiar with the rules about feedback, you're going to be like, oh, why is that still on there? I don't know. I've asked for that to be removed 4 or 5 times. The feedback that I got a couple of days ago, this is, I'm going to serve it as a warning to any sellers out there. So on your RMA, if you do returns, regardless if you don't, there's still some obligations you have to tend to. And somebody opens a returns case, make sure it's a return that you don't have to reply to. Because of all my other 30, 40 returns throughout last year and the year before and this year, whatever, all combined, 0 of those returns have I ever had to reply to. 0. So what I mean by that, somebody opens up a return, 4 days later, eBay automatically sends them a label. They either package the item up, put the label on, or they just never ship it out. More than half of the time, they never ship it out. So I get a negative feedback from him. I forget exactly, it's only a few words, but it says very rude. Not very rude, yeah, I can be rude, but if I were to go through the messages and screenshot the messages, I'm telling him, hey, open up a USPS claim. He denies it, they'll cover it, and then after that's like, well, when you return it, for returning a broken item, that is part of eBay's policy. So if you, whomever is listening, don't believe me, look it up. Sellers can deduct up to 50%. The way on how this turned out is just dumbfounding. And I was asking eBay, I was like, hey, why did this do that? They're like, well, every once in a while, I was like, I'm not going to sit there. And I gave this explanation on Facebook. Basically, I got very mean. They kept saying, you need to be professional. Stop using that kind of language. And I said, well, if you're too much of a to think that people can't be upset and use that language, stating that I can't use profanity because it's something that you guys did. I became complacent because every single return is automatic. That's why you have automation. Do you sit there and watch a battery-operated clock 24/7 to ensure it's working? And then the one time you turn your back, it stops working? No. It's automation. It's conditioning. I'm conditioned to understand that's what they do. That entire part is it's absurd. I'm not worried about it. Feedback sell 99.2. I sell enough. So when someone opens up return, be very wary and look at it and ensure that it's something that you do not need to engage yourself into. Because if you have automation, according to eBay, although you're accustomed to something happening 100% of the time, because it's something that eBay affords you to do to make it automated, it's not automated. Watch out. And then watch out for buyers who will state that you're rude because you're giving them the policy. Here's the policy. On top of that, the guy who sent the picture of what the disc was and the one that he sent me are different discs. The spindle guide, the spindle coloring, is, it could be just his camera is slightly off, but the numbers and letters that are wrote on the spindle differ than the one that that is in the picture that I sent. Fortunately, it was a sharp enough picture to where I could see that. But you can't cater to everyone, but let's find out what's sold. Wuthering Heights, DVD, 16. World Without Cancer book, 28. You get to retire on this one, Dixie Chicks, $7. Just that one at $7. Let's just say, I don't know, so it's probably Indiana, might be Southern Ohio, somewhere around there. So it's gonna be like $4 to ship, and $15.70, $1.50, $4.50. So even if I paid $1 for it, I still make like $1. So I don't remember, but I probably got that at Lee Road for 70 cents. Newsies, the musical soundtrack. Actually, I think it's a cast recording. It's a cast recording, which is a little different than soundtrack. 39, and I believe in the video where I got this here, I said it's like $30. So to get 9 extra, kind of makes up for that few dollars less than Dixie Chicks, right? American Gigolo reprint DVD, 17. Zodiac Mind Warp CD. I don't know, kind of looks like Slash. Because if it was, and it's this odd, then it'd probably been more. But $11. Man Bites Dog VHS, 23. Wild Bunch Betamax, 13. And Lexus CD, 24. Unless there's some big jump in something, I'm probably going to have my lowest payout in a while. But don't put the carriage in front of the horse, right? Gotta wait and see what happens. Who knows? I could sell that $5,000 book set. Who knows? So that's the point. You just, you're not anticipating the past. You aren't forecasting the past. You aren't expecting the past. That's not going to happen. All of that's all future tense. Not a huge day. It makes you feel kind of non-productive when used to having 8 to 15 things go out, anywhere from $250 to $500 going out every single day, and then not even $500 accumulative in almost 4 days. Huge thing. I don't control that. What I control is what I buy and what I list. And if you're doing something every single day, something's going to happen every single day. I do go off of what the net payout should be. And I focus on my net payout, no matter how I can and how much I can make it more. I don't control sales. But my adage is that I look to do what I can so I can have $1,000 a week payout. A little under, preferably over, so I can make headway. That is not the exact math. Headway is quite a bit less than that. So that means that all the other bigger payout weeks make up for one that's much lower. That's why I don't understand on how, like, the car industries need to bail it out. So these car industries, you never made profit. You needed the government to bail you out because you never made profit. That's how businesses work. If they're doing bad, you rely on the previous profits. If they're doing well, now you have a bunch of profit. And then when it starts to do bad, you have the profit you made prior. Sales and businesses isn't profit every single time. Ebb and flow. Doesn't matter. It's like bankrupting a casino, right? So, like what you heard, what you saw, feel free to comment, thumb me thingy, subscribe, share. They're all free. They all help. Appreciate it. Thank you.